Greetings and welcome to the Real Deal Sci-Fi podcast. I am your host, Paulie Sci-Fi, and on this episode, The Legend of Vox Machina, a D&D extravaganza. Robotics, how close are we to the inevitable robot wars? Finally, Transcendental Meditation, is it the path to true enlightenment? If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe on whatever podcast service you may use. Follow me on Twitter at PaulieSciFi. Also, go to the website, PaulieSciFi.com. That's P-A-U-L-Y.
Hey, Paulie.
SciFi.com, and sign up for this month's drawing. Stick around. I'll be right back. In my opinion, one of the best and most entertaining series on YouTube is Critical Role. Matthew Mercer hosts the series, which is a group of people sitting around playing Dungeons & Dragons. The players really get into their characters and use their talents as voice actors to bring the game to life. Mercer is one of the most versatile voice actors that I've seen. Not that I know many voice actors, but the series showcased a world which Mercer created and populated. If you haven't seen a video of him talking about D&D, they're really worth the watch. It's more than obvious that this Dungeon Master is not your run-of-the-mill Dungeons & Dragons fan, but a true believer in the game. Now, all of the participants from Critical Role have voiced their characters in a new show on Amazon Prime. The Legend of Vox Machina follows the daring adventures of this group of heroes as they slay their way across the land and bring their form of justice to evildoers. This animation series is not meant for children. There are lewd situations, nudity, cursing, and plenty of violence. Or as I would say, perfection. Much thought has gone into this series, and the fun that both players and the Dungeon Master alike have brought to this show is really something special. When I'm watching the show, I can feel the core concepts and the rules of D&D in the makeup of the story. There are moments which really feel like you're watching them play out their characters from Critical Role, and of course, Mercer voices many of the characters on the show. I have even seen him portrayed in the anime style which the series is created in. If you're familiar with the YouTube series, you'll be able to pick him out. The characters are taken directly from their Critical Role beginnings and brought to the screen. Vax and Vex, Pike, Keyleth, Percy, Grog, and of course Scanlan. These are some of the best characters that have been brought to life through animation, and the series is super entertaining. The first season is in the books, and the adventure has just begun. The trek so far has been a mix of humor and fantasy, which is worthy of more episodes, and I can't see them not making a season 2. It is that good. This show is a labor of love for those involved, and as long as it remains so, this series will be viable. I foresee more seasons for The Legend of Vox Machina, and though I may lack the gift of clairvoyance, one doesn't need supernatural powers to recognize a winner. Robots have been pervasive in science fiction since its early years. There have been tales of robots who help mankind come to a more enlightened state. Of course, we all remember the stories in which robots become a more malevolent force, which attempt to destroy their makers and supplant them. Now that we're on the cusp of great breakthroughs in both robotics and artificial intelligence, which of the two scenarios would be more likely? It's not that AI robots would be inherently evil, but it's the shortcomings of mankind which would make this amazing technology turn upon its creators. I could see the creators and programmers of such great power abuse it. Not all of the people who are working on it have the best interests of humanity in mind. There are those that wish to gain power and would stop at nothing to subjugate people. Do you really think that certain nations, when upon creating something which is intelligent in nature, would not use it to a destructive end? Of course they would. Any laws which would govern artificial intelligence, that's truly science fiction. We're already seeing robots on the battlefield. There are now four-legged ones being used as pack-type animals. Drones can fill the sky and kill on a massive scale. At the present, and only as far as I know, they are being controlled by people. That could change any time, and may have already. Are wars involving robots inevitable? No, they're not. If I had learned one thing from my years on this earth, is that mankind is self-destructive, and before we have the chance to make this leap, we may self-immolate. Though we have come a long way as a species, we are not destined for anything. We make our destiny through our actions or our lack of action. In order to see the good AI come to be, or even the evil robotic armies, we have to become a better species. Can we overcome our impulses long enough to become that which science fiction says we are capable of becoming? Your guess is as good as mine. There's so much anger and hatred in this world right now, it's really hard to see the good. Do we deserve a future? If you were the leader of some alien Congress, which was to decide the fate of humanity, to decide if humanity deserved to join a technologically advanced NATO-type organization, what would your vote be? As of right now, I would have a really hard time voting for humanity's inclusion. The one thing that would make me vote in favor would be the one thing that should deny us entry. Self-preservation over the good of the many. Transcendental meditation is not something out of science fiction, though scientific method can and has been used to measure the reality of this practice. I'm not a practitioner of transcendental meditation, but I do meditate on a regular basis. For me, it's a way to become more present and realize what's important to me. According to those who do practice this form of meditation, it is a transformative process that will change your life. This may be the Real Deal Sci-Fi podcast, but this is not about sci-fi. This segment is about you. If you have ever wondered about this practice, then let me fill in a couple gaps for you. From what I've learned, you need to have a guru who tells you the mantra which you are to repeat. It's not a word or phrase which you can find on your own. You journey deeper into your being, down to the quantum state. Once there, you find the true meaning of the universe and your role in it. There are those that teach it, and I don't know if they charge for it or not. We do live in a capitalist society, and people need to eat, even gurus. Like all things, it would depend upon the value which you put on it. If you're looking for a high without the use of illicit drugs, then this may be the way for you. If you do indeed take the plunge into transcendental meditation, I'd like to hear about your experiences. Follow me on Twitter at PollySciFi and drop me a DM. I can't wait to hear about it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Real Deal Sci-Fi podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast service you may use. Follow me on Twitter at PollySciFi. Also, go to PollySciFi.com. That's P-A-U-L-Y.
Hey, Polly.
SciFi.com and sign up for the monthly contest. Join me next time for The Real Deal.